got a bombshell report coming in from Woj around Zach LaVine that could be hinting that maybe he will be staying in Chicago, even though we did hear a bunch of reports early on that it looked like he was for sure getting dealt at the NBA trade deadline. So we'll dive into that report from Woj. And then also, Pascal Siakam, could he be a trade target for the Chicago Bulls? Obviously, the Raptors did just move OG Anunoby to the New York Knicks, so could it be a fire sale going down in Toronto, and maybe the Bulls could take advantage, maybe a little Zach LaVine for Siakam swap. We'll talk about that at the tail end of today's show. But guys, the trade deadline is a month away. Make sure you are subscribed here to our Bulls Report channel by Chad Sports. Stay up to date with the latest Bulls trade rumors, no matter who it is, Caruso, Vooch, LaVine, DeRozan, mainly those two guys. Make sure you guys do stay subscribed to the channel and lock us in as your go-to Bulls YouTube channel. But let's talk about it. Woj had this to say on Threads, coming out and saying that the Zach LaVine market is barren, especially with him working his way back from an injury. And we kind of thought this would be the case because I've always been kind of skeptical of these contenders trading for a guy like Zach LaVine, considering he has not been the most winning basketball player throughout his NBA career. So we've heard the reports of the Lakers and the Heat, and I always kind of had looked at those with kind of a side eye a little bit because I never really thought that they would kind of consolidate all their assets to go get a guy that necessarily hasn't really won too much in his NBA career. And plus this year, he's really struggled. I mean, throughout the first 18 games of the season when the Bulls were really struggling. They had one of the worst offenses and one of the worst defenses in the NBA. He was averaging 21 points per game, way down for him, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, but the efficiency was terrible, especially from behind the arc. He was shooting 44.3% on the field, and then he was also shooting 33.6% from downtown. And we know LaVine's been a plus 37.5 percentage guy from downtown this year, just not being the case. And that's why I get to this point that I've been saying so much here on the channel. And some of you guys disagree with me in the comment section, and that's completely fair. But I do think if that trade will come through and we see what the Bulls would receive for a Zach LaVine in a trade, it will be a whole lot less than we expect because of the fact his contract is not most team-friendly deal. And also, I just don't really know how high his value is going to be eventually when the trade deadline comes around. Maybe a team gets desperate, and maybe there's a little bit of a bidding war. But for right now, I don't think it's going to be too much. But let's dive into 5 teams that I think Zach LaVine could be heading to. And I do have these in order, and I think the number 1 team has to be the Los Angeles Lakers still. Even though I do think it is still more unlikely than likely he goes to the Lakers, I think they definitely have the biggest kind of slice of the Zach LaVine trade destinations pie. Listen, I do think if they would bring him in under the LeBron James kind of culture that he instills in a basketball team, I think LaVine would be a great kind of guard scoring option next to LeBron and AD. I mean, he has a ton of talent. If you put him around really solid basketball players, really intelligent basketball players, also basketball players that are more defensive minded, and LeBron and AD, I think that kind of combination would really work in LA. But I don't know if they would kind of give up a lot of picks and young assets for him. Number 2, the Miami Heat. I think they made the NBA Finals last year, and they're kind of desperate for another scorer, so I think they could get desperate. And we know they were in on Donovan Mitchell, Damian Lillard this offseason, so maybe they could think LaVine is, not the best option in that case, but definitely an option for them. This third one, I do have the Knicks on here. I don't know how likely it is for the Knicks to kind of go all in at this point, but maybe they say, hey, we traded for OG. We need to get another scorer next to Brunson. We'll give you Grimes, Fournier, and a couple firsts. I don't know how likely it is, considering LaVine also has a pretty big contract. It'll be tough to match salaries with the Knicks, but hey, you never know. New York, they've been in the latest rumors all year long. Philadelphia, we heard them as they've been flip-flopping back and forth. Like, I'll get a report saying that 76ers are interested, then they're not at all. I think they're going to ride with Maxey as their more secondary ball handler, or their primary ball handler, secondary scorer, instead of going LaVine. Now, this is my favorite one right here. If I had to pick a team that I think, number 1 dark horse, because I think these 4 have been the favorite all year long, the Sacramento Kings. Just keep your eyes out on them. I think maybe they could view LaVine as that piece to get them over the hump. So just keep your eyes on the Kings. That's why I got them at 5. But overall about LaVine and kind of the guys we've heard about the trade rumor, saga this season, I think the Bulls are going to get to the deadline, and I think they're going to think we can still win games and we're not going to trade anyone. I really do believe that. They're, I think, now 10-6 in the last 16 games. So I just have this bad feeling that they're going to think, oh, once we're getting LaVine back in the lineup, we can really start rattling off some wins here, and their schedule gets very favorable for them. So I think the record could be close to the 500, and I'm really starting to lean more towards the Bulls are actually just going to stand pat at the deadline once again. So that kind of kicks into this question here. Will LaVine finish the season with the Bulls? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no down in the comment section. I'll make this the pinned comment on today's show. So scroll down, answer today's pinned comment of will LaVine finish the season with the Bulls? So coming up next, we hinted this at the beginning of the show. Pascal Siakam, could he be a trade target for the Bulls? We'll be diving into that here in a second, but I do want to give a big-time shout-out to PrizePicks. If you guys go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use promo code CLNS, you're going to get a first deposit match up to $100. I love using PrizePicks. It makes the boring games a whole lot more entertaining. I pretty much use it on every single game that I watch nowadays, whether it's college basketball, NBA, NHL, even NFL, whatever it is, I'm using PrizePicks. How do you play? It's really simple. You're going to choose 2 or more players. You're going to choose more or less on some projected stat types, create a lineup, and you guys can start seeing the cash roll in today. I absolutely love it. Trust me, you guys will get addicted to it. Just make sure you guys do download it and use promo code CLNS, and they'll give you a first deposit match up to $100. I'll put that link for you guys in the comment section and description of today's show. Make sure you guys do get hooked up today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS. So let's talk about it. Pascal Siakam, could he be heading to Chicago? We heard a report this offseason during the summer that the Bulls were looking at him, so I don't think it's incredibly unlikely, and I do think there is a possibility that maybe it could be LaVine for Siakam. But more about Siakam kind of being on the trade block. Woj had this report coming from an interview recently. He said he's got value around the league, but he's also going to be a free agent. And I think if you're Toronto, if you're not going to re-sign him, you can't let him walk like Fred VanVleet walked this past summer when he signed with the Houston Rockets. And I'll tell you what, any team that would get a guy like Siakam, I think would be extremely, extremely lucky. I love his game. He consistently puts pressure on the rim, and he gets a defense in rotation. He's got a really quick first step, and he's also an elite defender. He's super long, and I think he could kind of be that Swiss Army knife in the playoff, where if you put him in like an Eric Spoelstra system or Tom Thibodeau system defensively, he could really be a game wrecker on that side of the floor. And I know maybe people will look at this a little funny, but I think he plays like a poor man's Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like with this long Euro step he goes to consistently. Like he is just the way he puts pressure on the rim, like obviously he's not as dominant as a Giannis is because he's not as big, but I think he plays just like a poor man's Giannis. And I will say this. He was absolutely fantastic in the NBA Finals. I mean, he was great for the Toronto Raptors. He was averaging just under 20 a game. He was averaging 7.5 rebounds per game and then 3.7 assists per game and shooting over 50% from the field. But again, it comes down to the three-point shooting with him. But, there is not a lot of perfect basketball players out there. But in terms of him doing just a couple, things really, really well on the basketball court in terms of playing defense and being a slasher, Siakam's one of the best in the league. So how about this trade idea? Obviously, we need to get a third team in here to make salaries work. I sat in the NBA trade machine a while, and it was tough to match salaries on this deal. So if this were to happen, there'd have to be a third team involved. But you could pitch to the Raptors, get another scorer next to Quickly, another scoring guard. Still got Scotty Barnes. They always have these long athletic wings. Put LaVine next to him, and then the Bulls, I think it would make sense, honestly. Like, I think if you put Kobe White, Ayo, get a Siakam, still have Vooch. If that is their MO and DeMar to go win games, this would be a whole lot of a better fit than LaVine in this lineup. But let me know. Would you guys accept this trade for Zach LaVine? If you want to bring Siakam to Chicago, give me an A for accept or give me a D for decline down in the comments section. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. I'm probably, if the Raptors offer this to me, I think I would 100% do it. But, obviously if you guys disagree, let me know. But again, with the trade deadline coming around this corner here in just a second, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. See you guys next time. Go Bulls.